Well, the Buffaloes have their 24th coach in football history, and he's come home. A Cherry Creek product, a CU product. It is Jon Embree. Coach, congratulations. How does it feel being home once again?
It feels great. You know, this obviously is a place dear to my heart, and having come here when people told me not to come here as a player, go to UCLA or go to Ohio State, and choosing this place, and knowing what it was capable of, and I feel great. I feel great. I'm excited about the challenge at hand, and I'm ready to get started.
When you look over the course of your coaching career, you have worked under some great coaches. You played under a great coach in Bill McCartney. You come here most recently with Mike Shanahan, of course, whom everyone in Denver is familiar with at Washington. Chan Gailey, on and on down the line. Talk about what you learned from some of the great leaders that you played under or coached under, and what that means then going forward for you as a head coach.
Well, first, Mike Shanahan. He was a guy I was always striving to work with because I had heard so many things about him. And the only regret I have in my career is I only had the opportunity to work with him for 6 months. The stuff that man does, from being detailed, from how he sees the game, from how he studies it, to how he communicates his message to the team, is tremendous. I just got a little glimpse into why he's been so successful. And then Chan Gailey, I worked with him as an offensive coordinator, and Chan was able to take an undermanned Kansas City Chief offense with Tyler Thigpen and put us in the top 8 in the league over that span that we took Tyler Thigpen by putting in a completely new offense and getting guys to buy in. So with Chan, I learned about being competitive and never giving up, and understanding you have what you have, find a way to make it work. Herm Edwards, his sense of humor and his ability to relate to players. You see Herm on TV now, and that's how he is. Herm is great. He was great with the players. I felt like we were close in Kansas City, and obviously, you're seeing what they're doing now with the players, some of the players that we had, and it was great. And then Coach Mack was leadership and motivation. I mean, that man he could convince you the jacket you're wearing right now is orange. And then after 5 minutes, you'd think you had an orange jacket on. He's that kind of guy.
Why can this institution, this program, you consider where it was when you got here? You were in that early part of recruiting under Bill McCartney. When this thing was on the rise, it became a national championship program, Heisman Trophy winner in Rashaan Salaam. Why can this program reach those heights again?
Well, one, the support that's here. I believe that was one of the questions I asked them in the interview process was, do they want to win? You can bring in the greatest coach you want, but if you don't have the support, you don't have a chance. So that's the first thing. The support's here, and they do want to win. The next thing is I know what this place is capable of, as I mentioned earlier. I know how you have to build this. I understand the type of player you need. And then the staff that I'm going to have is going to help a lot, too. It's not just going to be Jon Embree. I'm going to have a great staff. And we're going to recruit, and we're going to get great players in here, and we're going to help the great players that are here succeed. Again, as I've mentioned before out there, Brian Cabral, I think, gave people a glimpse of the kind of team this could possibly be when they understood who they were. Mac used to say that all the time. Who are you? Where are you going? And how are you going to get there? And I think at times, guys around here weren't quite sure who they were. What's your identity on offense? That's who you are, offense. What's your identity on defense? That's who you are, defense. What's your identity on special teams? That's who you are. And then that all makes up who you are as a team. And believe me, there will be a clear message and a clear vision. Those players will not have any doubt on who they are.
It's obvious talking with you, watching you at the podium, your passion for this institution, for coaching. The guy you brought alongside you, I've had a chance to talk with him a number of times, Eric Bieniemy. You bring him back as your offensive coordinator. He has got a similar, maybe a different style, but certainly a similar passion. Is that why it was important to have him along on your staff? Yes,
it was. That was one of the reasons. But it's not just his passion. It's his passion for this place. It's not that he's just a good football coach. You know, there's a lot of things that people don't know about me and that people don't know about Eric Bieniemy. People think they know us, and that's fine because they've seen us as players and they kind of followed us from a distance as our coaching careers. But I think as people get around us and spend time with us, you're going to see there's a lot more to us than just being passionate. You know, passion only takes you so far. You know, at some point, you have to be able to find a way to get people motivated. At some point, you have to find a way to lead people. At some point, you have to understand as a coach, and I told my players this today, coaching is taking you where you can't take yourself. You know, at some point, the player's going to get to the point where he doesn't want to do it. Well, that's, as a coach, is where it begins. And it can't be just yelling at them. It can't be just making them do it 100 times. You have to be creative in how you get people to the where you want them to go.
You're somewhat answering the next question I was going to ask you. You've had a great coaching career. EB has had a great coaching career. Neither of you have been the head coach, the coordinator. Mm-hmm. How much of a hurdle does that become for you? Or, based on what you're saying right there, is it more about leadership and not so much the X's and O of running an offense?
It's more about those things, I think. You know, the X and O's part, it'll take care of itself. Mm-hmm. You know, and again, I wish I could say more about the staff, but I think when people see the staff, some of those concerns will be erased that people have about me never being a head coach or EB never having been a coordinator. You know, I've been a passing game coordinator. I've done the passing game. I haven't called plays. Is that a big deal? I don't know. Kevin Sumlin is a guy that comes to mind that was like that. But he's having success. Pat Fitzgerald, he's never done it. He's having success. And I bring those two guys up, and I know there's more, but both of those guys have passion for where they're at. You know, Kevin Sumlin recruited Houston his entire coaching career. He's a Houston guy. So for him to get that job at the University of Houston, he's showing what he could do with it. Pat Fitzgerald, obviously a great player at Northwestern, you know, but he knows how that place works. He knows the formula needed to be successful there. And they're having success. And then people are going to see the same thing here.
Lastly here, and you touch on this, there was so much talk when the coaching change was made to bring somebody from inside the family. Do you have to have history here to fully understand the culture, how it all works, what it all means in order to kind of move this thing forward, do you think?
Do you have to? No. Does it help? Yes. Mm-hmm. You know, I believe when you come in from the outside, and I'll just use example, assistant coaches, it takes them about 3 years to really, truly figure out the university and how to navigate it. You know, that's one of the things. When you get a new coach in, you need to help them understand when they go out recruiting what they need to sell. What are the strong points of the university? If you have 10 new people coming in and they're all trying to figure it out, it takes a while. And if you take 3 years to figure it out and you're not having success, you have some problems.
It becomes very difficult.
Yes,
well,
it does.
He said during the press conference it was his dream to become the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. Dream accomplished. Look forward to working with you, Coach.
Thank you. I look forward to it, too.
All right, that's Jon Embree. He's the 24th football coach in the grand history of the University of Colorado.